Welcome to the Crazy Reddit Stories podcast. In this episode, we talk about a story of how a school student is frustrated by someone who thinks they are entitled to a seat on the bus. It's evident that this student needs to stand up for themselves and not let them get bullied at school. The CRS podcast writers can't stress enough how even the littlest thing can be seen as insulting or upsetting even if you didn't mean it. In this story, we support the student for standing up to a school bully and being responsible and not retaliating or resorting to violence. If you get bullied at school, it is important to report it to a school administrator. This could be a teacher or the principal. There is no place for bullying within the school system, and there is no place for retaliating if you have a choice to. Now, let's continue the episode. I'm 16 years old, and the girl on the bus I was having trouble with in 6th grade. The situation on my school's buses is kind of weird. Some high school buses have middle schoolers, and the way we do it is we drop off high schoolers first, then drop the middle schoolers off. It's weird but works, I suppose. Anyway, since 7th grade, I've been on the same bus, sitting in the same seat. I'm the first one on and last one off, so I pretty much get first pick, but I'm not cocky or choosy. I usually just sit in the first seat, sit down with my music and my headphones to calm my ADHD, and that's that. We don't have assigned seats or nothing, but some kids do sit in seats they like to sit in like me. I always sit in the first seat on the right. But like I said, I usually don't care too much where I sit as long as it's not next to people I don't get along with. Like anyone would do. There's a girl this year on the bus who I think is a 6th grader, as I've never seen her before, so I assumed she was new, but it wasn't my place to judge her. Before that, I used to sit in the seat as normal, and she'd sit next to me, and her friends sit in the left front seat. Usually her friends would end up with 3 in a seat, which wasn't uncommon on our bus, but uncomfortable. The girl then came to me and asked if I wouldn't mind sitting a row back since they wanted to all sit in the same row without having 3 in a seat. I was reluctant, but did agree. I'm only on the bus for 20 minutes at the most and get dropped off first as a high schooler anyways, so to me it wasn't a big deal. So I moved 1 seat behind and have been sitting there for a few days, but she and her friend have been absent, so the front seat has been taken. I sat in the front seat again, and since she's one of the last stops, so by the time she got on and confronted me, we were nearly at school. She poked my shoulder, and I took my headphones off to see what she wanted, and she wanted to sit alone until her friend got on. I was on the inside of the seat, and she was telling me this while kids were coming on, and she wanted me to move, saying anywhere but here. I told her I'm sorry, but the bus was almost completely full by now, and I didn't want to do 3 in a seat. Somewhere when we can do 2 here and be just fine, especially since we're like less than 5 minutes away from the high school where I could get off, and then she'd have the seat to her and her friends for the 10 minutes it takes to get to the middle school. She kept asking me to please move, and I told her I'm sorry, but I didn't want her need to move. She eventually got mad and went ugh like a child or Karen throwing a tantrum and said, "Fine, this one time, I try to be nice," and she was raising her voice. I looked at her with a confused look and said, "We don't even have seats assigned." She said, "Yes, we do, and that this is her and her friends' assigned seats." I asked the bus driver, and he said, "No, it's not. I tried to talk, but she kept talking over me, talking about anger issues and all that, and that I didn't want to make her mad." Before we continue with our story, did you know that you can view exclusive member-only episodes on our Patreon? Patreon members can send us their stories, and they will be prioritized over our normal episodes. Patreon members also have access to Patreon-only episodes that are exclusive to members only. Members can also join our Discord and chat with us. By becoming a member of our Discord, you can also submit your stories in our forums channel. To join our Discord, you can visit discord.me/the CRS podcast. Didn't dismiss it and asked if she was done talking. She said, "Are you done?" And I said, "I understand, but I have anger issues too, and I'm not like that." I know everyone is different, but to me, it seemed like she was just putting an actual issue that people have over brattiness. I once again brought up that we don't have assigned seats, and that I was getting off soon anyways. She said, "I don't care," and I was getting a little irritated at this point, so I told her she doesn't care, then shut up and stop throwing a tantrum over a damn seat, and she said, "Why don't you shut up with your stinky face?" And I told her I can change my appearance, but the disgusting personality of hers is forever, and I just put my headphones back on. I didn't want to escalate myself over someone who's 5 years younger than me. She then said, "Look, there's a seat way back there she could sit in." And I told myself that she could sit in that seat, or that one of her friends could, but her friends chose to sit 3 in a seat, and chose to complain about it when they had the choice. She kept talking about me to her friends next to me and said while cracking her knuckles that I'd better not sit there tomorrow, and told the bus driver to make sure I didn't. And even her friends were telling her to calm down. I don't feel like starting stuff with a little squeaky sixth grader, but I told the bus driver if she kicks me or anything, she's getting kicked to the aisle. The bus lurched to a stop, and I could feel the tension radiating from the girl next to me, her frustration practically crackling in the air. I wanted to roll my eyes, but that would only feed into her drama. Instead, I leaned back in my seat, trying to tune her out, but she was relentless. The bus lurched to a stop, and I could feel the tension radiating from the girl next to me, her frustration practically crackling in the air. I wanted to roll my eyes, but that would only feed into her drama. Instead, I leaned back in my seat, trying to tune her out, but she was relentless. Just wait until my friend gets here. You'll see, she said, crossing her arms defiantly. Whatever you say, I muttered under my breath, still focused on my music. The bus jerked forward again, and I could see her glare out of the corner of my eye. I wondered why this was such a big deal to her. It was just a seat. I could feel my annoyance simmering. I was determined to keep my cool. I had enough on my plate without dealing with a middle schooler's drama. Suddenly, her friend, a taller girl with curly hair, boarded the bus. I watched as she scanned the crowded aisle. Then her eyes landed on us. I could practically see the gears turning in her mind as she walked toward us. "What's going on?" she asked, her tone casual but curious. "This kid won't move," the girl beside me spat, pointing an accusatory finger in my direction. Took a deep breath, ready to explain my side, but her friend didn't even look at me. Instead, she leaned closer to her, lowering her voice, and they began whispering animatedly. It was as if I didn't even exist. The girl finally turned back to me, her expression shifting from anger to something almost pleading. "Can you please just move? I don't want to sit in the back." Blinked, caught off guard. "But your friend is here now. You can sit together." Her friend chimed in. "Yeah, we can sit here. Just move back a seat or two." I could feel my irritation bubbling back up. "But I've been sitting here all year. It's not like I just took your seat. You guys chose to squeeze into one." "Look, it's not about the seat," the girl said, her voice rising again. "It's about respect." I rolled my eyes this time, unable to help myself. "Respect? You're throwing a fit over a bus seat. Maybe you should try being a little more respectful," her friend shot back, and I could see the tension mounting again. Leaned forward, meeting her gaze. "Respect is a two-way street. If you want me to respect your space, maybe you should show a little respect for mine." The bus stopped at the high school, and I felt a sense of relief wash over me. I was just about to get off when the girl beside me shot one last parting comment. "Don't think this is over. I'll make sure you know you can't just take what's ours." With that, I stood up, ready to leave this whole debacle behind. But as I stepped off the bus, I glanced back and saw her watching me, a mixture of anger and something else. Maybe determination? I couldn't tell. The moment I stepped onto the pavement, I realized something. I didn't want to be dragged into this ridiculous feud, but I also wasn't going to back down. Maybe tomorrow would be different. Maybe it wouldn't. But one thing was for sure. I was done letting a sixth grader dictate my morning commute. As I walked toward the school entrance, I felt a little lighter. Sometimes you just have to stand your ground, even if it means dealing with a kid who clearly didn't know how to pick her battles. That's, folks, another episode of the Crazy Reddit Stories podcast. Let us know what you think, and was that the right action to do? You can let us know how you felt by joining our Discord. Once again, if you want exclusive episodes, you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/crazy Reddit stories. And you can also join our Discord at discord.me/the CRS podcast. If you want to listen to more episodes of the CRS podcast, you can browse our mini episodes on YouTube, Spotify, and Amazon Music. You can also listen to us on Podcast Index, Samsung Podcasts, and Listen Notes.